And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. I am Robert Cardoza, and you're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. I guess I should just wish you a happy Thursday, but you know what? This is going to be a great Thursday. We've got a super show scheduled for you today. Lots of good news. Well, lots of news. Let's just call it that. And then you know what? On today's show, we're going to do the same thing we do every day, Monday through Friday. We're going to talk about what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses. And then, of course, we'll do our news segment, that tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey, and the rest of the story. On today's special segment, well, we're going to be spending quite a bit of time with our own Sean LaFave. Sean and I will be talking about health care on the Geared for Wellness corner. But you know what? Right now, I want you to know that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 87 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, that's down from 90 degrees, and it's on its way to 61. It's going to just, it is just a drop-dead gorgeous day outside, just the way it's going to be. A little bit later on, we'll give you some of the temperatures and around the world where we're syndicated. But right now, I want to talk to you about the news. We've encapsulated the 10 top things so that you can get an idea of what's going on and you can be conversant with it with your neighbors, your friends, your peers, and they know that you know what the heck's going on in the world today. Here's the top 10 things that you need to know for Thursday, your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that are going to be talked about all day today and probably tomorrow too, unless there's some big change that takes place. First off, the earthquake in Italy reduces 3 towns to rubble. Rescue crews using bulldozers and their bare hands raced to dig out survivors from the strong quake that hit central Italy and killed scores of people. And long political resume, resume could work against Clinton during the debates. She'll enter the highly anticipated fall debates with Trump facing the same kind of heightened expectations that often saddle an incumbent president. Well, what's the latest with the White House worry in Syria? I can tell you the U.S. may get drawn into cooperating with Russian forces in the civil war, even though it believes Moscow's intervention has only undermined the United States goal of defeating the Islamic State group. And tornadoes touch down in central Indiana. Multiple twisters tear the roofs off apartment buildings, send air conditioners falling onto parked cars, and cut power to thousands of people. Well, an accord's been reached in one of the world's longest-running armed conflicts. Colombia's government and country's biggest rebel group announced a deal to end a half-century of hostilities. That's 50 years. Can you believe that? Well, corporate balance sheets are hidden, and the risk to the U.S. economy as well. America has a debt problem, and the big borrower this time may surprise you. It's corporate America. Yeah, that's not a good thing. How about this? Why astronomers believe they've hit the jackpot. After scanning the vast reaches of the cosmos for Earth-like planets where life might exist, scientists have found one right next door, celestially speaking anyway. And a letter from Bonnie and Clyde up for auction. The bitter letter from the notorious Depression-era gangsters was sent to a former member of their gang they felt had betrayed them. And then next, where Prince fans will be flocking. Paisley Park, the private estate and production complex of the late rock superstar, will open for public tours starting next month. Now, finally, the U.S. Soccer suspends goalkeeper Hope Solo. The 6-month suspension follows the goalie's disparaging comments about Sweden following the Americans' early departure from the Rio Olympics. Yeah, you know what? Let's not let the Olympics get political. I just think that we need to keep the purity as much as we can in there. And I know there's doping and I know there's all kinds of stupid things going on, but let's try and keep politics out of Rio. Let's get into a little bit more in-depth stuff. Trump rebukes racism claims as Clinton warns of radicalism. You know, Donald Trump confronted head-on allegations that he is a racist today, defending his hardline approach to immigration while trying to make the case to minority voters that Democrats have abandoned them. His general election opponent, Hillary Clinton, meanwhile hammered the point that Trump unleashed the radical or the racial and radical fringe within the Republican Party, including anti-Semites and white supremacists, dubbing the billionaire businessman's campaign as one that will make America hate again. The ping-pong accusations come as the two candidates vie for minorities and any undecided voters with less than 3 months until Election Day. Weeks before the first early voting, Trump faces the urgent task of revamping his image to win over those skeptical of his candidacy. Boy, you can really say that again. But I can tell you, in a tweet shortly after Clinton wrapped up her speech in the swing state of Nevada, Trump said that she is pandering to the worst instincts in our society. She should be ashamed of herself. Boy, you know what? This is getting nasty. That's all I can say. Just really, really getting nasty. Let's talk some more about Trump. Suddenly it's Trump sounding sort of soft on illegal immigration. Donald Trump defeated 16 rivals in the Republican primaries by being the most anti-immigrant of them all. Promising to build a giant wall on the border and deport millions, he labeled opponents like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio as weak and amnesty-loving, and his extreme rhetoric pushed the entire debate over immigration to the right. But suddenly, Trump is sounding like some of the people he defeated. In an appearance on Fox News Channel's Hannity show yesterday, Trump talked about how tough it is to break up families for deportation, suggesting that maybe upstanding people who've been in this country for years should be allowed to stay if they pay back taxes, and insisting, just as Bush and Rubio were repeatedly forced to do, that such actions would not amount to amnesty. Everywhere I go, I get the same reaction. They want toughness. They want firmness. They want to obey the law, Trump said. But they feel that throwing them out as a whole family when they've been here for such a long time is just a tough thing. Well, you know what? It is a tough thing. It's about time somebody came to reality. It just, this is crazy stuff. Well, here's the latest. Kane says that Trump cannot be trusted on immigration. The latest on the U.S. presidential race, anyway. Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine says GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump's shifting positions on immigration just can't be trusted. Speaking during a Thursday afternoon taping of CBS's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Kaine attacked Trump for wavering on whether immigrants here legally or illegally must be deported. I just don't buy it, Kaine said, before saying in Spanish that Trump is always fighting against the Latino community. Trump has previously promised to deport the estimated 11 million people living in the United States illegally. Yet in recent days, he suggested he might be open to allowing them to stay. A former missionary in Honduras, Kaine frequently peppers his campaign appearances with remarks in Spanish. Now, don't go away, folks, because we got a lot more news for you. When we come back, we're going to talk about the aftershocks that rattled the Italian quake zone. A toll now is rising to about 250. It's just really, really sad. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news. You know what? Let's talk about the aftershocks that rattled the Italian quake zone. The toll has already risen to 250, a little bit more than that, actually. That just came in about 19 minutes ago. As the research for survivors ground on, Premier Matteo Renzi pledged new money and measures today to rebuild quake-devastated central Italy and mounting soul-searching over why the seismic-prone country has continually failed to ensure its buildings can withstand such catastrophes. A day after the deadly quake killed 250 people, a 4.3 magnitude aftershock sent up plumes of thick gray dust in the hard-hit town of Amatrice. The aftershock crumbled already cracked buildings, rattled residents, and closed already clogged roads. It was only one of the more than 470 tremblers that have followed Wednesday's pre-dawn quake. Firefighters and rescue crews using sniffer dogs worked in teams around the hard-hit areas in central Italy, pulling chunks of cement, rock, and metal from mounds of rubble where homes once stood. Rescuers refused to say when their work would shift from saving lives to recovering bodies, noting that one person was pulled alive from the rubble 72 hours after the 2009 quake in the nearby town of Lachia. Well, you know what? You don't give up until all the time is gone. That's all you can say, right? You're not gonna give up. That's all there is to it. That's just not the way things are done. That's the way things shouldn't be done. That's the way I should actually say it. Well, you know what? A nun in a iconic Italy quake photo texted friends that she said, adieu. Now that's sad. She became the face of Italy's earthquake. Sister Marhana Lessi bloodstained her veil as she texted her family and friends in her native Albania that she was alive. In an interview today at the mother house of her religious order, the 35-year-old nun recounted how she thought that she would die when her convent walls collapsed. She texted her friends asking that they pray for her soul, only to be rescued by a man that she has called her angel. Now safe, Lesci says she wants nothing more than to go to next week's Rome canonization of Mother Teresa, the ethic Albanian nun who gave hope to those who didn't have any. Lesci was sleeping in the Don Minozzi convent beside the Church of the Most Holy Crucifix in Amatrice when the quake struck at 3:36 a.m. On Wednesday. She had been there with 6 other sisters caring for 5 elderly women. Her order, the Sisters of the Handmaidens of the Lord, runs nurseries and homes for the aged. She woke up covered in dust and bleeding. Realizing what had happened, she immediately tried to summon help outside her room. No one responded, and she couldn't get out. When I started losing all hope of being saved, I resigned myself to it and started sending messages to friends saying to pray for me and to pray for my soul. And I said goodbye to them forever, she said, outside the order's headquarters of Ascoli Piceno. I couldn't send a message like this to my family because I was afraid that my father would have an emotional collapse and die hearing something like that. She said that eventually she was rescued by a young man who cared for one of the elderly women at the home. In that moment, I heard a voice who called me, Sister Marjana, Sister Marjana. He pulled her out with the ground still shaking. She sat on the side of the road and began texting her friends and sisters that she had survived. That moment was immortalized in an image taken by a photographer for the ANSA news agency, reprinted worldwide. Well, Lacey spent much of today getting medical checks for dust inhalation in her head wound, which required stitches. Once back home, she wept as she thought of her family. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think it's just wonderful. I think it's just wonderful. Well, Turkey sends more tanks to Syria, insists on Kurdish retreat. Turkey sent more tanks into northern Syria today and gave Syrian Kurdish forces a week to scale back their presence near the Turkish border, a day after it launched a U.S.-backed cross-border incursion to establish a frontier zone free of the Islamic State group and Kurdish rebels. Skirmishes broke out between Turkish-backed Syrian rebels and the U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters, raising the potential for an all-out confrontation between the two American allies that would also jeopardize the fight against the Islamic State group in the volatile area. Turkey's incursion on Wednesday to capture the town of Jarablus was a dramatic escalation of Turkey's role in Syria's war and adds yet another powerhouse force to the ground in an already complicated conflict. Wow. Can you imagine? Just, you know what? This is sad. This is a sad world. That's all I can say. Well, let me leave you with this. A U.S. warship fires warning shots at Iranian boats. A U.S. Navy ship fired 3 warning shots at the direction of an Iranian boat that was approaching another American ship head on in the North Arabian Gulf on Wednesday. U.S. officials said anyway, in an escalation of encounters in the region this week. According to U.S. Navy Commodore Bill Urban, the Iranian boat came within 200 yards of the USS Tempest and ignored several bridge-to-bridge radio calls and warning flares. It finally turned away after the USS Squall, which was with the USS Tempest, fired 3 warning shots from its 50 caliber gun, said Urban, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. The situation presented a drastically increased risk of collision, and the Iranian vessel refused safety maneuver in accordance with internationally recognized maritime rules of the road, said Urban. Well, that's enough of that. When we come back, let's deal with something a little more palatable. Let's deal with the IRS loses. The first case is a split decision. It's a loss deduction is allowed on a home's workshop. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. It's pretty good.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? I want you to know that at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time, it is still 87 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 61 degrees. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 78 degrees and it's mostly cloudy. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it is 83 degrees and, yeah, mostly cloudy. You got that right. But right now, you know what? We got something more important to talk about. Let's talk about the IRS loses.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Okay, here we go. You know what? I just love this segment, and most everybody else does too, because nobody wants to hear about the IRS winning. That's for sure. So let's get right to it. Here's a split decision on the IRS. It's a loss deduction is allowed on a home's workshop. You know what? A couple's home was appraised at $199,000 when they spent $16,000 adding an attached workshop to it. They sold the home 2 years later for $203,000. The home sale was tax-free, but the couple claimed a loss on the sale of the workshop, while the IRS said that they actually had a gain. The IRS's position was that the workshop held 9% of the home space, so 9% of the sales price was allocable to that, more than $18,000. But the couple says the workshop added only $4,000 to the value of their home, so its sale value was only that much. Well, this is what the judge said when they went to court. When the couple sold the home, the real estate agent obtained 2 appraisals of it that gave an average value of the workshop of $6,500. And that is the value that's going to be used. Well, makes sense. You know what? Why does the IRS think that they've got more expertise than licensed professionals? I have no idea. You know what? Let's do another one. Here's one where the IRS flat out loses. The right to a speedy trial violated. Paul Mendoza was convicted of filing false tax returns, but protested that his trial hadn't begun until 10 years after he was indicted. So his constitutional right to a speedy trial had been violated. Well, this is what the IRS said. Before being indicted, Mendoza had left the country for 8 years, so it couldn't arrest him or even try him. So they went to the Court of Appeals. This is what the judge said. The IRS had contact information from Mendoza, but had done almost nothing to inform him of the charges against him. He didn't know of the indictment, so he hadn't fled, and he had even returned a call to the IRS made to his wife. The IRS's lack of effort to inform him of the case was prejudicial, so his conviction is reversed. You gotta love this stuff. How about this? The IRS loses. Getting expert advice saves penalties from an abusive investment. You know, 3 couples invested in a partnership that promised both business profits and tax benefits. Now, the IRS later held it to be an abusive tax shelter and imposed negligence penalties on the couples. They replied that they had checked the bona fides of the business before investing. The IRS told the court that the other investors in the same shelter had been held liable for the penalties. Well, this is what the judge said. These couples showed that they had paid reputable professional advisors a reasonable amount relative to the size of their investment to investigate the partnership for them before they invested. So they had not been negligent. And that's the way that goes. Let me give you one more the IRS loses. A retiree does not owe tax on an insurance policy owned by a firm. Here's the thing. Joseph Dyer was a partner in a law firm that way back in 1978 bought an insurance policy on his life, payable to his wife. Her name was Mary, by the way. Now, it was to pay her the value of his interest in the firm if he ever died. Now, Joseph retired in 2001, and the firm let the policy lapse. The lapse resulted in an $18,000 of taxable income to the policy owner that the insurance company reported to Mary on a Form 1099, and that the IRS thus taxed to the Dyers. They protested, went to court. This is what the judge said. The law firm had been the policy owner, paying the premiums and arranging the policy for his own benefit. There was no evidence that Mary had ever received an $18,000 payment or benefit. So the Dyers absolutely escaped the tax, and that's the way it ought to be. That's just fair, right? That's just the IRS trying to get away with nasty stuff. Yeah, well, you've heard me talk about being a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing stuff. That's where we're at right now with this segment we call Inside the IRS. Well, these are not tax court cases, but these are precedents and things that the IRS has done and kind of reactions that the IRS has to different scenarios. And so if you know what they are, you can actually use them to your advantage. In this particular case, what to do if the IRS actually sends you a check to which you are not entitled. You know, based on the most recent study conducted by the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, you've heard me say that's TIGTA, the IRS issues millions of dollars of incorrect refunds checks each year. Many times the IRS will credit one person's account with someone else's money or issue a duplicate refund to the same person. Do not keep the money if the IRS mistakenly sends you a check or electronically sends you money to your account. Eventually, the IRS is going to catch on to what's going on here and realize that it's made an error and ask for the money back with interest, by the way. So your best approach, if you receive money from the IRS and suspect it has been sent mistakenly, or you don't understand why the IRS gave it to you, send it back to them with a letter requesting that the IRS confirm that the payment is accurate. Now, if the IRS sends a new check with an explanation, you can go ahead and cash that check, unless you are absolutely certain that the IRS hasn't corrected a mistake. But at that point, nobody in his right mind would be absolutely certain that the IRS made a mistake. So keep it, enjoy it. You know what? Here's the deal for you. If it sounds too good to be true, well, you know what? Promoters of tax schemes continue to make compelling arguments to gullible individuals that the income that they earn is not subject to United States income tax based on Internal Revenue Code Section 861. Now, under the promoter's theory of this section of the code, U.S. citizens are subject to income tax only from foreign-based activities. Now, this position has been shown to be totally without merit, false, and a misapplication of the law and the regulations. You all remember Fallen Star actor Wesley Snipes, right? Well, he's been indicted and convicted for tax evasion because he submitted amended tax returns claiming refunds of millions of dollars based on that Section 861 argument. The indictment also alleges that Snipes did not listen to his tax advisor, who advised against participating in the scheme. Snipes, who was arrested on December the 11th, 2006, pleaded not guilty, was released on a $1 million bond, and then returned to Namibia, where he was filming a movie. At the news conference, one of the lawyers said Mr. Snipes was a victim of his tax advisors. It's tax season. Don't be stooped. Here's the deal. Snipes came back. He had certified checks for millions of dollars in his hands to give to the court for taxes. The court took that for his taxes and sent him to jail for 4 years. One of those federal resorts, that you spend time away from home. Just keep that in mind the next time you want to take advantage of a scheme that just sounds too good to be true. Now, don't go away, because sitting in the wings in Wichita, Kansas is our own Sean LaFave, and he's going to start his Geared for Wellness Corner right as soon as we get back from this commercial break. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000. 5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:35 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 87 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 61 degrees. But you know what? If you're out in the beaches of Torrance, California, where our own Dr. Wireless is at, that's where he dips his toes in off his surfboard. Well, it's currently 75 degrees and partly cloudy there. And you know what? If you are just absolutely making your dreams come true in Wichita, Kansas, I want you to know that it's 85 degrees with scattered clouds and a ton of humidity. And to the guy that survives all that and makes you feel better about it, he's our own Sean Lefebvre. Hey, Sean, you sitting out there?
I am sitting in here, yes, in the air conditioning office, making it. I make it every. I don't know if I'm living my dreams, making myself happy out here, but I'm doing that for everyone else. So that's all that matters. As long as I'm making someone else happy, that's good. You have throwing that whole 75 and sunny out in California thing, and now you made me homesick, and I'm gonna probably start crying during the show. And
now here's the deal. Here's the deal about you. The one thing that I know about our own Sean Lefebvre is that if he's making other people happy, that's making him happy too.
That's the truth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's absolutely all about.
So you got big plans for this weekend?
You know, I just found out that literally just a couple hours ago that one of my favorite musicians, and I don't know why I didn't know he was in town, but tomorrow night he's going to be in concert here in Wichita. His name is Gary Allen. Man, he's been in the country music scene for about 20 years, and he just kind of he's country, but he's kind of got a bit of an edgy without being stupid like some of the new country singers. And I mean, I'll tell you what, I was, as they say, I've been listening to country music since I was knee high to a grasshopper, as they say, and I just love country. It's my favorite kind of music. I listen to everything. I mean, you could walk in and find me listening to classical, or I mean everything. It doesn't matter.
Well, Wichita is so big and so famous. I'll bet you that if you were to invite him to a barbecue in your backyard, he'd probably accept.
And he probably would, man. I'll tell you what, he's a neat guy. I watched him in some interviews, and it's pretty funny. You talk about making dreams come true and making people happy and stuff. And I'll go ahead and this really has nothing to do with our show, but I just think it's such a fascinating story. So Gary Allen, he's from California, which is another reason to really like him. But he's got all these tattoos, and you look at him, and he doesn't really look so much like a country singer, but he really has a great, unique country sound about him, and I don't know, this was 20 some odd years ago. He was working at a car dealership in Southern California, and this gal brought in her, I think it was a Cadillac SUV or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, that's not important to the story. She brought in her vehicle to get it fixed, and they had to do a test drive on it, and the guy who was doing the test drive was a friend of Gary Allen's, and really liked his music. And so when he had to go on these long test drives, he didn't want to listen to the radio. He'd take a cassette and stick it in the cassette player, and he'd listen to Gary's music while he was out driving these cars around, making sure the transmission worked or whatever it is he's doing. And so he does a test drive, car works great, everything. They call the gal in, and she pays her bill, and she gets in her car. Well, the mechanic had forgotten to take the cassette out. So she starts the car, and she's listening to this music, and she just kind of sits there for a while and listens to it, and she walks back in, and she said, can you get the mechanics and get my car for a test drive over here for me, please? And the manager said, yeah, and he comes out and said, you put a cassette, there's a blank cassette in my car, it doesn't have a name on it, but who is that on that cassette? And he said, well, that's our buddy Gary Allen. And she said, you know him? He goes, well, yeah, he works here at the dealership. And she said, can I talk to him, please? And he says, well, yeah, sure. And so he goes and grabs Gary. Gary comes over, And she says, yeah, man, what can I do for you? She says, well, your cassette got left in my car by accident. And she goes, I got to say, I love your music. It's amazing. You've got a great sound. It's very unique. You're extremely talented. I love what you're doing. She said, why are you working in a car dealership? Why aren't you out in Nashville making it big time? And he said, well, it's expensive to do that. I don't have the money. I'm trying to save my money up. And, someday that's my dream is to get out there. But, I'm like everybody else. I'm just barely getting by. And she said, well, what would it take for someone like you? She goes, I was out of curiosity, what would it take for you to go to Nashville? And how much money would that require for you to get out there to give you enough time to pay your bills and work hard and make it happen out there? And I guess he threw out some number. And she kind of looked at her husband for a little bit, and he said, honey, I think it sounds great. Go for it. And she pulled out a checkbook out of her wallet, wrote him a check for the full amount, and handed it to him. And he said, I can't take this. And she said, no, you know what? She goes, that amount of money to me and my husband, she goes, it's nothing to us. Because if I never get this back, I won't miss it. It's just a drop in the bucket to us. She goes, but I think that you have an amazing talent, and I think you're going to do great things if you go out there and you make it happen. And she goes, I would love to see you make it. She goes, if you do and you have the means to pay me back someday, that'd be great, but I don't expect it. And so he moved to Nashville and became a huge success.
Wow.
It's neat. It's neat to know that stories like that really do happen. I know they're few and far between, but I just love his story, and you can tell when he you hear him in these interviews, he's just a humble guy, and he said in this interview that he's he obviously paid her back plus some, and every year he sends her T-shirts and CDs and stuff to give to her kids and grandkids and whoever her friends or whatever, and they stayed in touch this whole time, and I just think what a wonderful story.
That's a great story. That's just a great story.
Yep.
Wow.
So so he's going to be in concert tomorrow night, and so I may go to that concert tomorrow night. And other than that, I've got a friend who just moved into a house out here, and she's having a big housewarming party. So I think that's on Saturday, and so I'll go to that. Well,
I'm glad you're not going to be bored to death in that heat and humidity out there in Wichita.
No, I'm rarely bored. If I'm bored, it's by choice. So there's plenty of things for me to do to keep myself busy around here. That's for sure.
You know what? I don't doubt that. I think you make busy.
Oh yeah, you got to make yourself busy. There's always anyway. I don't have anything to do. They just don't have much of a creativity bone about them. So I was actually. It's funny talking about that. I was I do this weekly. Actually, I'm sorry, every other week I do this. It's kind of a coaching call. It's a group call, but it's called the Be Better program. And
I didn't know you did that. Tell me about it.
Oh, have you heard about it?
No, I didn't know that you did that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the program's been around for, I think over a decade, and it's run by a guy named Phil Kaplan. And Phil's a pretty interesting guy. He was one of the top executives in Joe Weider's organization back in the day. So, being from Southern California, you definitely know who Joe Weider is. And, most people who are in the fitness world, or at least were back in the 80s. And
you know what? I remember seeing his body plastered on the covers of magazines and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were in sick with Joe Weider back in the 80s and 90s, you just didn't make it in the bodybuilding world. That's just the way it was. He built the fitness industry to what it is today. Joe Weider was really the man. And so Phil Kaplan worked for him, and actually at one point Joe Weider offered the Weider organization to Phil, and Phil said, no, I got my own thing I want to do. And actually before he even worked for Joe Weider, he was in Jack LaLanne's organization. He was the executive for Jack LaLanne. So he's always been in the fitness world, and he's real big into, self-improvement, self-motivation, all these things. So he's got this program that I'm working on called Be Better. And it's just really about, overcoming, all the obstacles in your life, whether it's self-doubt or, these little, talk that we have inside of our head that goes on that stops us from reaching our goals, or, whatever our self-limitations are. It's really about overcoming all those. And,
it's all about a positive mental attitude, right?
It is that's a huge part of it, is a positive mental attitude. And it's really, in this one particular incident I'm talking about especially, but in general, it's really, your brain is just like the rest of your body. The more you use it, the more you work it out, the better, the stronger it gets, and the more adapted it becomes. And one of the things he was talking about was, our creativity, the side of us that comes up with solutions, that comes up with creative ideas, is run by our prefrontal cortex. And he said, the more you use that, the better you get. And when you stop using that creativity, that dwindles and that actually becomes weaker. And so when you get in a situation where you need to use creativity to create something or to build something or to get yourself into or out of a situation, it becomes very difficult to do because our creativity doesn't really work the way it does. And when he talked about that, I was thinking about this. I forget what show I was watching, but there's a guy out there. He's got this program that he takes business executives, just business executives like anybody else. You get stuck in a rut, and you maybe at some point stop thinking outside the box, or you stop being creative the way you want. And what he does is he takes these business executives, and that have kind of reached this point where they're just a little stuffy. Maybe they're a little too serious. They get so stuck in this serious mode that they forget how to have fun like kids. And he takes them into this facility that he has, and they get to basically be kids. He said that everyone feels very awkward the first time they get there, but after a while people open up and, they got paint colors and they're getting paint everywhere, and they get to make things out of clay, and they get to have, throw stuff around, and they get to just go wild, and all of a sudden he said, you watch it come out of them. They become more playful, they become more creative. And what this does is it opens up that part of your brain that has kind of been suppressed, that allows you to create the things that you used to create that you don't create anymore. And so now all this creative juices start flowing, and you start acting like a kid. And so now when you go back into your corporate position, those things that used to be stumbling blocks for you now all of a sudden seem a lot more easy, because your brain is kind of almost rewired into the mode of having fun and being creative and coming up with new ideas. And so really that's a powerful tool that I think everybody needs to work on and develop.
Well, I actually have a segment of my show, and I do it every day. And it's the lifestyle tip of the day, and it's all about a positive mental attitude. And I started it off with this little blurb about, when you get up in the morning, you're going to control what your day is going to be like, what your life's going to be like. You get up, you go into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, and you say, wow, today is going to be a fantastic, productive, profitable day. And you actually are going to decide whether you're going to be happy, sad, a success or a failure, rich or poor. And you're going to also decide if the people around you are going to be happy. And you control all that stuff, whether you believe it or not. It doesn't just happen accidentally.
No, I totally agree with that 100%. And, you see that, I hear it on Facebook all the time. You get the people that sometimes it becomes almost annoying. They're so pushy about it, but you're like, at least they're positive. And then you get the friends that I don't know what it is about Facebook. People act like, if people acted in real life the way they do on Facebook, it would be, I don't know, it would be a strange world that we live in. The people who are depressed, they just want to vent on Facebook.
This is a strange world that we live in.
It's a strange world we live in, period.
Yeah.
But it would be even more awkward if people behaved, if they just walked into a room and started venting all their problems to you, like they do on Facebook. You're like, oh, I'm just never going to find, I'm the right person, or I don't know why I can't find a job, and on and on. And you kind of, you want to do like, dude, start saying something a little bit more positive on your stuff, and maybe these things that you want will come around. And it really does that. Those words that you say, that positive attitude, that positive thought, that positive affirmation, really, it does. It makes a difference.
It honest to God does. I mean, if your positive mental attitude is that you're going to live in drudgery, and you're going to fight for failures every day, and you're not going to feel well, and you're going to be lethargic, you know what? You're going to get what you're hoping for. You're going to, because the body wants to give you what you want. The problem is if you think about it the other way, you can get that as well too, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whatever you think becomes your reality if you think it long enough. You know, I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before, but I'll go ahead and bring this up again. There was a guy, and I can't remember his name, but it was the early 1900s, and I don't even remember what it had something to do with. He was doing some study on mental perception, and he created a pair of refractive glasses that he would wear, and when he put them on, they had I think a set of prisms or something like that would take whatever he was looking at and flip the image upside down. So if he's sitting in his chair in his living room and he looks out, you know, the TV is up on the ceiling, the overhead light, chandeliers on the floor, you know, everything's completely upside down. And so he decided he was going to, you know, just do this experiment and see how this disorientation, you know, would change a person's perception of reality and just the things around them. And what he discovered was, it took about 10 days to 2 weeks was the period, if I remember correctly. It was somewhere around there, that and he would wear them constantly from the time you woke up until you went to bed. You would wear these things, and then all of a sudden there would come a day where you would open your eyes with these on, and you would look out, and everything would be right side up.
Your brain fixed it.
The brain fixed it, because the brain knows that the TV's not on the ceiling, the chandelier doesn't shoot up out of the floor, you know, the couch isn't up on the ceiling, you know, the brain knows what truth really, really is. If you've seen something for 40 years of your life, you know, and you know the reality of it, and all of a sudden you flip it upside down, the brain's not going to go, oh, this is a new reality, we're good with it. The brain says, no, this is not true, this is not real, how do I fix it? And so the brain finds a way to flip that image back upside down, or right side up in this case.
Well, you know what the problem with that is, though, don't you? The problem with that is that now he's got his experiment, he's proved it, now he's got to take the glasses off, and the whole world's going to be upside down again for 2 more weeks.
And that's exactly what happened. But I guess the brain was able to fix that a lot quicker. It was able to reverse that a lot quicker, like in a very short amount of time. But the point is, when your brain, your mind tells you that something is true, it will always find a way to make that a reality for you. So if you tell yourself, you know what, I'm just a fat pig, well then, and you start going on a diet and you start losing weight, your whole life you've always told yourself, I can't lose weight, I'll never be skinny, I'll never be in shape, I've always been heavy, I'm always been big boned. You tell yourself, when you start losing weight on going on a diet, all of a sudden your brain will find a way to sabotage your diet regimen, whether it's through through like a desire to eat more junk food,
or lack of
change in whatever the case is, the body will find a way to distract you from that. It will find a way to even chemically alter what's going on in your body so that you can't get down to that weight, because most people, it's more important that I be truthful, honest person than I be skinny and fit. So I would rather be fat and truthful than to be skinny and a liar. And so that's with everything in life. You know, that's if you say, you know what, if you've got a bad attitude about people with money, if you're raised, and I know people like this, that they think rich people are all horrible, they're all jerks, you know, they don't do any good in this world, all they do is take and steal, and they're just a bunch of, you know, leeches. All rich people are horrible people. If you grew up with that attitude and you end up in a situation where you could possibly become wealthy, you will sabotage yourself because you've been told that you're going to become a bad person if you do that. And, it's interesting. I've known, you can have that in all areas of life, that once you tell yourself something and you make it truthful and it finally becomes a reality in your brain will find a way to make it happen in your real life and existence. You know what?
We're gonna actually. I'm gonna give you a curveball here, but it kind of fits. It kind of fits with what you're saying. I sent you off. A number of weeks ago or months ago, we talked about this fella. Matter of fact, it might have been a year ago. We talked about this fella that had a face transplant, and up until then, I mean, he had such horrible challenges in his life, and he couldn't see, he couldn't smile, he couldn't taste, he couldn't talk, he couldn't do all these things. Well, I sent you a text today about this. It was an update with this guy, and
the Mississippi firefighter.
Yep, he was a firefighter who had been injured, and he now has done a total 180 with regard to his life. He can smile, he can eat and taste food, he can smell, he can see, his whole life has turned around now that he's got this new face. And I just think that proves what your brain can do, because it really wasn't the face transplant. It was the how you perceive yourself.
And that's exactly what it is. And I will say it's hard to perceive yourself as a person who fits into society when your face looks like Freddy Krueger.
Sure.
His face was mutilated from being so burned up. And like he said in the article, he was tired of people staring or little kids crying and running away from him because he was scary. And that would be mentally. You would have to be a very strong person to overcome that. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. But to perceive yourself as a person who, has a good life and is happy and is thriving and doing well, like he said, it was a joy for him when he first got to see his kids again. Yeah. And so all of a sudden to him, he perceived himself as finally being normal again, which, technically he kind of is normal again. He can see, and his daughter said, my dad wasn't right inside. There was something wrong with him inside as a person. He was very unhappy before, but now he's happy again.
Yeah, he's got hair. He has to shave. Here's the thing. What I didn't grasp was I understand the concept of a face transplant, but is it just the outer, facial muscles and skin that changes? Does your actual appearance change drastically from what you looked like prior to your accident?
Well, they said for this guy, and for some people they do change drastically, and I'm sure in the beginning there was probably a very drastic change, when they first started doing these. But they said for him, he looks very similar to how he looked before. They were able to match the hair color and a lot of the facial features. His face is a little bit more round, they said, and his eyes are a little bit smaller than they were before. But big picture, he looks very much like he did before. And he even said, he goes, I don't look in the mirror and I focus on that. I just focus on the fact that I've got my life back and I move on and I go out and I enjoy life. But for him to be that burned to where his face was gone, and he didn't have hair and he didn't, and that was the unique thing about this one that you sent me was, not only did he get a face transplant, but they actually did a full scalp transplant along with it. Yeah. And so he got hair. He literally has a whole new head, not just a face, but his whole new, the scalp and everything.
You know what? Whether you believe in miracles or not, that certainly is one. Listen, we've got to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk some more to our own, Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Don't go away. We've got a lot of interesting things for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently 87 degrees. That's down from 93 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way to 62 degrees. And if you're living in our syndicated global network and you're listening to our show in Paris, France, well, it's 75 degrees and it is clear there. It's also tomorrow there already. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it's 73 degrees and it's also clear. And it's also tomorrow. So that means you're getting today's show late. You know, it's already happened for you. Anyway, we're talking to our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. When we left, we were talking about the happy psychological effect that a face transplant had on a firefighter that was just burned beyond recognition. And his whole life has just been turned around just, I guess, just one short year in transference. Isn't it about that, Sean?
Yeah, it really is amazing to think it's how far we've come. Obviously I have my issues with medicine here and medicine there, but stuff like this, I just think it's absolutely fascinating to be able to take a person's life, especially someone who, this is a guy who put his life on the line to save others. I mean,
he sacrificed for other people.
He's one of our heroes. He's one of our daily heroes that goes about his life, understanding that something like this could possibly happen to him. And sure enough, it did. And it's nice to know that the day might come that when this happens to one of these guys, that we as a society, I think they said it was over $1 million for this transplant, which, I mean, geez, for a whole new face, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think that, as a society, that's one of those things that we owe them if we have the ability to do so. Do we owe them that right to have their life, his life back and have a second chance at happiness and joy? And, I can't imagine. It was kind of neat that he said, he goes, I'd like to say that, I think his name was Gary. I think he said, I'm glad to say, I'd like to say that I'm the old, Gary that I was before, the old person I was before, but, that wouldn't bring light to the struggles and the things that I've gone through. He goes, but, he goes, I'm a better person now. And it's kind of neat to see, that he's able to have that second lease in life. And I think that's really cool.
I do too, but, it's sad because it makes me think about, what our vets are going through today, and have been going through for a long time. You think about them making these sacrifices to keep us safe and not have wars on our shores, and they spill their blood and they become maimed and disfigured, and we're not taking care of them the same way we should have taken care of them, the same way this fireman got taken care of. I think it's a national embarrassment.
And it is, and I would hope that we'll come back to a point where that becomes a priority, in our culture. Where we go, these are people who went off, and whether you agree with the wars that we're fighting or not, the fact is these are guys that volunteered to enlist or become officers in the military, and at that point they don't become their own person. They become a property of the government, and so they have to do what they're told. It's not like they have a choice. If they say go to war and you go, well, I don't agree with that war, I'm not going, well, then you can end up in Leavenworth for that.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not really, this person's choice to go out and fight this particular war. So we do owe it to them as a society to make sure that if something happens to them, that they're taken care of.
Absolutely. It's interesting. The term GI, it actually relates to all forms of the military, and it stands for government issue, because the minute you take that oath, you become the property of, the chattel of the United States government. You are part of the government, and they have an obligation to take care of you.
Yeah, if you go out, let's say you are in the military and you go out, let's say you're one of these Marines down at Camp Pendleton, which, obviously you got these great sunny weather in the beaches. Let's say one day you go out to the beach and you haven't been out to the beach for, several months, and you forget to put on sunblock and you're out in the sun too long and you get a really bad sunburn, and it affects your ability to do your job as a soldier or as a Marine, then you can actually be charged with destruction of government property because you did so much damage to yourself that you can't do your job for a couple of days or whatever the case might be, a day or two. And so, so you are literally property of the United States government at that point.
Yep. And so anyway, I don't want to ponder on that, but you know what? I'm happy for the firemen, and I'm hopeful for our vets.
Yeah, I am too. And I think, right now, I don't know if it's, I don't want to blame it on just this one, our leadership right now. I think it's just a systemic problem culturally. This is, the VA didn't go to hell in a handbasket in the last 8 years. It's been that way for a long time. Yeah. This is a systemic problem that's been going on for a long time, and it's just been gradually getting worse. And really, someone needs to go in and shake the tree and fix the problem. And I think it's something that can be done. But it's, even myself, I just went in to go get an ID, and I ended up actually becoming qualified for some disability because of my hearing loss from flying so much time. But I've been trying for, I don't know how long, 6-8 months now, to get a copy of my records, and nobody seems to know where they are.
Are you sure you ever existed in the military?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure. I got a letter from there's of course, there's the active duty, and then there's the reserve, and then, of course, there's Guard also. But I was a reservist. I was active duty first. And for the active duty guys, all their stuff is, I can't remember if it used to be Denver. I want to say it's in St. Louis now, but there's the main headquarters where they keep all documentation. And you would think it would just be on a server somewhere, but they sent me a letter back, said, hey, you know what, the reserve, the Air Force Reserve asked for your records. They were sent to them, so they've got them in their possession. And I called up there and sent letters and faxes in, and they haven't been able to get them to me. And so, I'm sure 20 years from now, my stuff will probably show up, but it's just, and for me, it's not a big deal because, I don't have any real big issues. I get a little bit of ringing in my ears, a little bit of ear loss in one of my ears from flying too much, but, it's not the end of the world. I can still function just fine.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you would say that, because it is a sacrifice, and it is something that you accommodate, but it's not like you've got a choice, in that matter. You accommodate it and the damage is done. The truth is, things would be a lot better if you didn't have that hearing problem. Now, I also have a hearing problem, but it was because of an accident that I was in, and I can tell you, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about being able to hear really well out of both ears. I lost the total hearing in one ear, and it's catastrophic. When you realize that that's gone, and you have to make accommodations constantly because of it.
Yeah, and I do. Of course, I downplay it, but it's like I said, it's not horrible, but when I'm in a conversation with someone, especially if I'm in a room, there's a lot of noise going on. A lot of times I'll look at the person and go, "What did that guy say?" Like if it's something from like a speaker or something like that, like at a convention or whatever. What did he just say? I'll do that from time to time. And especially my left ear is the really bad one. My right ear's got a little bit of hearing loss, but not much. But I'll make sure that I've got my head turned, or the person I'm talking to, I try to get them on my right hand side. If it's certain tones that I can hear more than others, like for whatever reason, I don't know what frequency the tone is of a watch ticking. But if I've got a watch, and I wear my watch on my right hand, which is unusual for a right-handed person, but I like it on my right wrist. But if I've got a watch, it's a wind-up watch that ticks, I can hold my arm straight out as far as I can to the side, and with my right ear, I can hear that watch tick tock, right? I can hear little ticking sounds. But if I take that and wrap my arm around to the other side of my head and I press that watch up against my left ear, I cannot hear it.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. And one of the things, and I'm sure you do it, I do it, and you just can't help but do it. I find myself when I'm speaking to people, I almost make them feel uncomfortable because I'm almost staring at them, not trying to, because at the same time they're talking to me, because I'm not hearing them that well, I'm reading their lips.
I look at people's mouths. Yeah, I really do try to make eye contact with people when I'm talking to them, but if I'm having a hard time, that's the one thing I'll do. I'll stare at their mouths and I'll learn to put their words together with the movement of their mouth, like basically, in essence, reading their lips along with what part of the words I can hear, especially, again, if it's in an area, like if I'm at a party or I'm in some sort of a restaurant where it's really loud or something along those lines. Yeah, I do the same thing. I constantly. But the way I look at it is, we were talking about, the vets that come back injured. I didn't lose any arms. I didn't lose a leg. I still got, all my face intact. And, in comparison, you're always going to find somebody who incurred an injury just dramatically more severe than you did. Yeah. And even the guy that lost limbs did better than the guy that lost his life. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, and I didn't mean to actually go in that direction. It was hard for me to think about this firefighter and the comment that you made that he got what he deserved. And then my mind just automatically went to our vets, and it's just a sore spot with me. Well, I think it's, things like this, and I think the upside here is that, we're making advances, and someday maybe we're going to have, prosthetics that are more, maybe we're going to be able to do arm transplants someday. Maybe we're just going to have prosthetics that are like what was that? The $1 Million Man. The $6 million. The $6 Million Man. The $1 Million Man. I can't remember. What it was. $6 Million Man. The $6 million man. Was it Steve something? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was the Air Force pilot that crashed the airplane, and they gave him legs and they gave him an arm. And of course, I had the bionic toy when I was a kid, and we always thought it would be cool. How cool would it be to have a bionic arm, an eye, or a bionic eye where he could see really far away, Yeah. So I look at stuff like this. And I think, medicine's getting there. The silly part about that as a young kid. You say to yourself, God, I wish I was like that. Oh, yeah. I mean, think it would be great. Can you imagine wishing for something like that? Yeah, not now, but yeah, back then, because you see him, he could be standing on the ground and he could jump up on top of a 2-story building. Yeah. Like how cool is that? As a kid, there's probably not many things that are more cool than being able to do that. And he could run, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. I don't know how fast he could run, but he could run really fast, and all these things. And so, it was as a kid, it was exciting. But no, I'm good having, all my natural appendages, and I'd like to keep it that way. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nothing like it. As long as we're talking about those kind of things, so we've only got about 5 minutes before we have to take a break. But as long as we're talking about those things, I and I understand your position on medicine, but your position on medicine is more about keeping your body healthy, and it's more about giving your body the things that it needs so that it can maintain itself. But I was thinking the other day about
what a wonderful thing it is that people who they've worn out their hips or their knees or their shoulders, their arms, that they can actually get that reconstructed artificially and be whole and good and do all those things all over again. I had a good friend of mine recently went through a hip surgery, and it's amazing. He was in such horrible pain, couldn't hardly work, couldn't do anything. Yeah. He went through this surgery, and he's like a new man. It's unbelievable. The pain is absolutely gone, and he can function. He can do all the things that he wasn't able to do before because of the pain.
Yeah. Hip replacements, knee replacements, those are just the again, it goes back to, the advancements that we've made in medicine, and they're just unbelievable. And you're right, they can go in and they can get a whole new hip or a whole new knee, and it works just like a brand new one. Like a super healthy natural knee. You can't even tell the difference, they say, anymore, that they're so natural in their movement, and like you said, the pain's gone, and a person's got his life back out of that, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. But it also makes you think in terms of the things that you say all the time, and I'm never going to forget it, and that is how absolutely magnificent the human body really is. All the things it does, the fact that it actually rebuilds itself, it repairs itself, it fights against attacks to it, it does all these things. I mean, what a magnificent machine the human body really is.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. It's fascinating. And the more I learn about it, the more I just go, wow, this is just, I think that, we're just now figuring out the cool stuff. I bet 20 years from now, we're going to know stuff about the human body that just will absolutely blow us away. I think that we're just getting started.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing what the human body's capable of.
I sometimes used to think, I was a Star Trek fan, not a Trekkie, but a Star Trek fan. I enjoyed the series and the movies. And I remember this doctor, I don't know what his name was, but the guy that was the doctor. And he had all these weird
I'm a doctor.
Yeah, he had all these weird little things, right? These little machines that, repaired brain aneurysms and your arteries and all these different things going on just by waving this little machine over there. And I used to think to myself, I wonder if this is a lot like the Dick Tracy wrist radio that became, the Apple Watch or the cell phone that became the communicator that Captain Kirk always had. And is this a precursor to what's going to happen in medical science? Are they going to actually develop these kinds of things? And it just makes your mind wonder about, I don't know how these scientific writers come up with some of the stuff that they have that actually later on became a reality.
You got to wonder too, is maybe this is stuff that no one ever thought would even be possible, but some guy, some young kid, boy or girl, whatever, watching Star Trek, saw this machine, that could do whatever, and said, gosh, what, I wonder, and that didn't exist, but it gave the idea that this is something that we could make. Things seem so realistic. Like we talked about, it'd be so cool to have a bionic arm, when we were kids. But I can remember watching shows and thinking how cool that would be. And certainly I don't know why that wouldn't or couldn't be the inspiration for a lot of the technological advances that we've made in all areas of life. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I sat on the board of I sat on the board of directors at Loma Linda Children's Hospital for 9 years, which is the legal limit that you can do that. And I was there, luckily, during the time that they were actually doing the prototypes and doing the work with regard to the proton lasers. And they were actually, instead of having to go in and use these drastic procedures, invasive procedures for brain tumors and stuff like that, with these proton lasers, they actually can go in there, pinpoint to the exact location of the laser, and destroy any one little piece that they want to do, and it's just so precise, and it's something that we couldn't have done before. It's just amazing things that are taking place that most of us just know nothing about, that are never exposed to.
Yeah, speaking of lasers, there's a lot of doctors, especially in the natural healthcare world. I don't know if they use them so much. I know they use lasers for all kinds of things in the medical world, but in the natural healthcare world, we use cold lasers for for a lot of things. You know, it blew my mind the first time someone ever took this, and it's just a red light laser, and it's a cold laser, so obviously it's not going to damage anything. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you set the frequency of the laser, of the light frequency, I guess, and you kind of run it over the affected area, and it'll stop. You know, to help with healing. It's not like you know, Bones from Star Trek. You know, that's you know, swipes a machine over someone's broken arm, and all of a sudden their broken arm is fixed.
Yeah.
But it does reduce pain. It reduces inflammation. You know, it helps with healing if a person's got, you know, and there's a whole long list of things. You know,
hold that
with their kidney, you can put it, it penetrates into that.
Hold that thought. I want to explore it further right after this commercial message. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our own Sean LaFave. We're talking about cold lasers, and I want to explore that a little bit.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And I still haven't been hit yet. I think Sean's praying for that. But at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time, it's currently 86 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you're in Lisbon, Portugal, it's 66 degrees and partly cloudy. And if you're in Hong Kong, it's 77 degrees and, well, it's just a little misty. But I'll tell you, don't ever get misty over our own Sean Lefebvre. He's got good stuff for you. Sean, before we went on our break, you were talking about cold lasers and that you were using that to reduce inflammation and to reduce pain. And is that all just mostly muscular stuff?
No, it works for a lot of things. Definitely soft tissue damage is a great use for it. People with, muscle tears or sprains or injuries like that, that's, especially superficial, even, skin injuries, it works great for. But you can, dentists can even use it for inflamed tissues, in the gums and other parts of inside the mouth and so on. You can use it for arthritis, pretty much any type of inflammation you can use, but, general aches and pains and so on. But it even works for, let's say you've got a person with, some sort of, fatty liver or cirrhosis of the liver or something like that. I'm just using that as an example. It could be any kind. It could be something with the lungs or whatever. You can actually point it at that affected area, and depending on what setting you go will depend on how deep it goes in, and it can actually help with organ healing too. It's a lot more superficial than real deep, but it can be used for a lot of different things.
But for somebody that for somebody that's not trained, it could be quite dangerous. I would guess.
No, I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty hard to screw yourself up, because it's not like, it's not like a laser that they use, for like, say, surgery or for breaking up. I know that they can use lasers for breaking up kidney stones and those types of things. It's a cold laser. It doesn't heat anything up. It doesn't create it can't damage the tissue at all. It doesn't have a high enough heat or a high enough frequency or whatever that you want to call it to create any damage. So it's not going to hurt your skin at all.
So you don't even feel it for
your internal organs at all. So yeah, you don't even feel it. Yeah, you wouldn't even know it was there if someone didn't tell you that that's what they were doing.
Now, and is the result instant? I mean, if let's say you've got a swollen joint or you've got a sprained muscle, is the result instant? Do you feel instant relief?
Yeah, and it's not permanent relief now, mind you, but I've had it to where I've had, a pain from something that I've done, and I put that laser on, and within seconds, I feel the pain going away. And typically, if I leave it on there, for like a minute or two, and usually you leave it on for like, I think like 10 or 15 minutes or something like that, the pain will completely go away. Now, after you take it off, after a while, the pain will come back, but it's not as bad as it was before. So in some cases, yeah, the relief is actually almost instant. It's during the first treatment even, but then you'll come back, do multiples like anything else. It's like taking let's say if you compare it to Advil or some sort of ibuprofen or whatever. You can take that, and maybe your headache might diminish, but then the headache will come back. So if you take the Advil, for 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row, all of a sudden the headache's gone and it's permanently gone because the ibuprofen has driven down the inflammation. Well, the laser works in a similar kind of way. It usually takes multiple applications for it to have any long-term changes.
So this is a totally non-related thing, but a lot of people suffer from migraines, and it's because of this constriction of the vessels and things in their foreheads and in their temples. Could that cool laser be effective against something like that?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely one of the things that they use to treat it with is, and you just literally, most of them have, I should say most of them nowadays, they're coming out with ones that are just a single laser. Oh, it's a single unit, but it has 2 lasers in it, I think, typically. But it used to be like 2 different actually separate handles that you would use to point at the person. But, you would put it on the affected area. And so, yeah, it can help you with migraines. And it does. It's going to do things like to help increase blood flow and help increase circulation and of course repair to, all the way down to the cell level. So, yeah, absolutely. With migraines, it's huge for that.
But it's also a temporary issue, right?
It is a temporary thing. Yeah, you've got to get at the root cause. It is again another thing that is treating, I guess you'd say, the symptoms, because, whatever's causing your migraines, you really got to get to the root cause of that and figure that out. Or, obviously with something like a sprained ankle, well, we know what sprained the ankle. And so, you just, don't turn your ankle anymore. Obviously there's, some things just can't be avoided. You're walking down the street, you step on a crack in the sidewalk and your ankle rolls. Well, that's just, that's different than I have a headache because I ate McDonald's. Well, then don't eat McDonald's anymore. That's pretty simple. But for some things, like a trauma, certainly it's, once it's done, it's done. But for things that are recurring, like migraines, or maybe you've got irritable bowel or something like that, you've got chronic digestive issues, it can help with stuff like that. But you've also got to remove the source of the problem, whatever that is. If it's, dietary, if it's maybe a structural problem that you need to go to the chiropractor, and because I know chiropractors are usually very good at helping fix migraines because of the pressure that it's created on the base of the skull from misaligned vertebra and all these different things. So, you want to address the root cause if it's something that's a chronic problem for sure. But for a temporary fix, to get you over the hump while you're fixing the root cause, tasers are a great option with really no downside to them at all. There's no side effects. It's not like you can, like I said, you can't really screw up and hurt somebody with one of these things. If I set it on a setting for, whatever, to reduce inflammation, and I put it on my leg and there's no real inflammation there and I don't even have a problem, it's just going to do nothing.
So let me ask you this. About 3 weeks ago, I sprained my back. I think I may have mentioned it to you, and I was worried. I didn't know if I had damaged my hip, or if I had pinched a nerve, or if I had sprained my back. I wasn't sure, so I went to the doctor, and she assured me that it was just a muscular thing that because of the exercising and things that I do. But I mean, it really hurt, and I'm wondering, should I have gone to a chiropractor? And they would have used this cold laser? Would it have relieved the pain for a sufficient amount of time that my body would have healed itself as it did anyway? Yeah,
and it actually doesn't just relieve the pain; it actually promotes healing as well. So wherever the damage is, if it's muscular, if it's ligaments, if it's whatever the case might be, wherever that damage is, it doesn't just remove the pain like masking it. It actually does promote healing as well.
If
I have low back pain and I have the option to be able to go to someone who has a cold laser, oh man, absolutely, I'd be all over it, because cold laser is awesome. I mean, it works great for low back, for any kind of pain really, and it does promote healing all the way down to the cell level.
So I was kind of envisioning that what happens when you sprain your muscle, that it kind of gets twisted up in a form that it's not supposed to be in, and that's why it hurts. And that if you use this laser or anything to relax that, it relaxes it enough so that it kind of pops out of this bad configuration that it's in, and it heals itself. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah, sort of. It depends on the type of damage. Like you can pull a muscle where we have what's called myofascial material that kind of runs through our entire. As a matter of fact, it's the only part of the body that actually runs continuously from head to toe. So there's you could draw a line along this stuff, and at some point it's going to be connected, through different joints, hip, knees, and so on, all the way down to your toes. So the myofascial in your body is connected all the way through. It's the only part of your body that's 100% connected, nonstop from head to toe. And this myofascial is it's kind of like think of it as almost like a cellophane, if you will, like a thin layer, like a membrane that kind of lays in between the different muscle fibers. And what it does actually, if you see where a tendon comes out of you, like we say you have your bicep muscle, right? And at the end of the bicep muscle is a tendon that goes to your forearm. So you flex your bicep, your forearm pulls up towards your face. All that tendon material is basically all the myofascial that's weaved within that bicep muscle that all come to a point and create that tendon. So tendons are actually made from multiple layers of myofascial coming together. And so what can happen is you can, and I actually had this happen, and it's extremely painful. I had in my calf muscle, I had a myofascial binding, if you will, that really, so take that, imagine a piece of cellophane that's laid nice and flat. You put your hands on it and you twist your hands in the same direction, and it kind of crinkles it up, and it creates these creases in it. Well, that's basically kind of what happens with a myofascial binding that happens within your muscles. And so I went to a massage therapist and just had it massaged out, and it took a couple of weeks of deep tissue massage, and it's pretty painful to do, but at the end.
Oh yeah, you can say that again. You know what? I used to, when I was traveling a great deal, and I'd get on cruise ships or go to different places, and I was a sucker for massages. I just loved an hour of massage, And every once in a while, I'd ask for the wrong one. I'd ask for a deep tissue massage, and it was like they just beat the hell out of me. I want to tell you, it hurt. It just, I couldn't hardly walk after that. I can't imagine getting hurt and asking somebody to do that to them.
That's the only kind of massage I ever get anymore. It's nice to get like a Swedish massage where they just kind of superficial, and it feels good and it's relaxing, but to me it's not really therapeutic. You don't get any real, reparative value from it. It just makes you feel good, and that's nice once in a while, I suppose. But I'm a big fan of deep tissue massage because it is painful at the time, but when they're done, boy, you're just like, man, I can't believe you feel.
Yeah, you feel like you've been beat to death by a group, by a gang, for God's sakes. Good God Almighty. I keep thinking to myself, this small young little girl, how the hell was she able to have enough pressure on me to hurt me?
Yeah, I know. You're like, what are you like? Like, what are your thumb? Like half of your whole body? Like, how is that? How do you ever take that one thumb from this little tiny person and just drive it into my back, and it feels like you're sitting with a baseball bat?
What the hell are you going to do with your elbows, lady?
Yeah, it's like your thumb was bad enough. Keep that elbow away from me. But yeah, so you know what? Even when you get in deep muscle, like something like that, I would want to get massaged. But doing cold laser, concurrently with it, or not, at the same time, but like in between, that cold laser is going to help drive down the inflammation that's caused from that damage, so it will heal faster. The massage will work better. And if it's something like a ligament that's been stretched or torn, or a tendon that's been pulled or something like that, that really massage isn't going to. Massage is going to help you if the muscles are tight, but if it's really just that ligament or that tendon needs to be healed, then putting a cold laser on it is going to help heal that up faster. It's going to heal up on its own eventually. So I want to ask you one more question, because we've only got a couple more minutes, and I don't know why it came to my mind, but when I was younger, I used to, and not all that, maybe 20 years younger, I used to have a problem with I kept kicking out rib heads, and man, you talk about pain. You kept kicking out what? Rib heads. Rib head? Your ribs would come out of place. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And isn't that painful? It hurts like a son of a gun. I'd do anything. I'd stretch. I'd hang. I'd do anything. I'd finally go to the chiropractor, and it's like they were beating the living daylights out of me. They'd fix them for a while, but what the heck made? And then the last 20 years hasn't bothered me at all. What causes that? I would assume it has something to do with, maybe you're tensed up and the muscles in that area are just, pulling in a certain way, and all you need to do is twist in the wrong way, and bam, that rib just pops out of place. And yeah, boy, I tell you what, when a rib is out, it's painful. It feels like, it feels like someone's got a ball-peen hammer pressed up against your right on the side of your spine, and someone's standing on it. Yeah, it's I got how much time do we have? We got time for one quick little story. Well, we really don't, but give it to me anyway. Well, this will be quick. When I used to be a power lifter, and one time I was coming out of the rack, and I used to wrap my thumbs around the bar with the rest of my fingers instead of in the opposed position. Mm-hmm. When I came out, and as I started to come down, I dropped 280 pounds on my chest. Oh. And that bar came straight on my chest. Thank God the guy I was working out with was a huge, strong guy. The bar actually compressed my chest and then bounced up, and it was gonna land on my neck. And this guy grabbed it, and before it could land on my neck, so it was up in the air, he grabs it, picks it up, and racks it. 280 pounds. The guy picked it up. Yeah, and racked it, and I'll tell you what, man, it knocked a couple. I thought I broke my sternum, but I didn't. I was really fortunate because guys do that. But
you're also lucky that the guy, not only that the guy was there, but that he liked you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was my friend, right? Exactly. But my ribs, that threw a few ribs out, and I was sore. Fortunately, the guy who was working out with me was also a chiropractor, so he gave me adjustments almost every day for a good probably 3 or 4 weeks before the pain really went away. But boy, those ribs come out.
Oh man, I'll tell you, excruciating. Listen, my friend, what are we going to talk about next Tuesday?
Gosh, man, I don't know.
Let's talk about country western music.
We'll talk about country. Hopefully, I can talk to you. I when we were on our break, I looked up and it said all the tickets were sold out for the Gary Allan concert. So I may not be able to tell you about that, but I can tell you about other country music.
Sounds great to me. We'll talk. There'll be a million things we can talk about. In the meantime, Stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and make everybody around you glad that they are.
Same to you, Robert. I had a great time. I'll talk to you Tuesday.
All right, as usual, fantastic. The rest of you folks, stick around, because when we come back from this commercial message, we're going to do the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless fact. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:42 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently still 86 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, you know what? If you are listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Auckland, New Zealand, well, it is right now, what is that? It's 84 degrees and overcast. And if you're in Sydney, Australia, it's 52 degrees and mostly cloudy. But you know what? Right now, now, we've got some good things for you. No clouds above our heads. It's a magnificent day here in Southern California. Let's talk about the Harvard Business Tip of the day. And the management tip today is maintain your entrepreneurial passion by being flexible. You know, most of us think of entrepreneurs as passionate professionals who have a fire in their belly, but it's hard to maintain that level of dedication no matter how passionate you are, and research has shown that entrepreneurs' enthusiasm for their projects can fade over time. One way to prevent this is to avoid sticking to a plan. Strictly adhering to your business plan is a recipe for disengagement. You need to be flexible and agile as you learn more about your product, your customers, and the market for that matter. This isn't just good for your business. It keeps you excited about your project as you continue to evolve it. By changing and refining your ideas, you can make significant progress and build your confidence. Rather than feeling misunderstood by the outside world, you will gain a sense of control over events that, as they unfold, which will counter any decrease in passion over time. Guaranteed. Keep it fresh. That's how you do it. Well, time for the secret daily teaching for your life. It's all about a positive mental attitude. You know my feelings on this. You control your entire life. You decide if you're going to be happy, sad, rich, poor, a success, or a failure. You decide if the people around you are going to be happy or sad. You know, it's already up to you. When you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I'm going to have a fantastic, profitable, productive day, and I am going to be so happy, and so are all the people around me. That's a positive mental attitude. I tell you, that works. It'll happen. You know what our teaching for today is? If you're complaining, the law of attraction will powerfully bring into your life more situations for you to complain about. If you're listening to someone else complain and focusing on that, sympathizing with them, agreeing with them, in that moment, you are attracting more complaining situations for yourself. You know what? Keep that positive mental attitude. I keep telling you about it. It really, really works. One of these days, you're going to wake up and say, wow, how fantastic was that? Well, you know what today is. Sure you do. Today is Thursday, August the 25th, and it is somebody's birthday. Well, we've got 3 terrific birthdays for you today, and you're going to enjoy every one of them. And this first guy, well, you know, he was born in 1930, actor best known for portraying the character James Bond in films between 1962 and 1973. Happy birthday, Sean Connery. I guess I should say Sir Sean Connery. What a fantastic actor he is. And here's a fellow born in 1954, a musician who participated in London's rock scene and became associated with the punk band or rock and new wave musical genres. It's happy birthday to Elvis Costello. And then finally, let's get down to it. Born in 1970, one of the world's most successful models, having appeared on over 500 magazine covers. Happy birthday, Claudia Schiffer. Yeah, wow, and beautiful she is. And you know what? What happened today in history? I can tell you that on August the 25th, 1916, the United States National Park Service was created. How great was that? And in 1950, President Harry Truman orders the United States Army to seize control of the nation's railroads to avert a strike. Later on, President Reagan did the same thing. And in 1981, Voyager 2 spacecraft makes its closest approach to Saturn. Can you imagine the dreams that are coming true? And then finally in 1989, Mayumi Moriyama becomes Japan's very first female cabinet secretary. Wow. Now, isn't that something? Yeah. Well, you know what? Our quote for today comes from Quincy Jones. You all know who he is. And he says, it's amazing how much trouble you can get in when you don't have anything else to do. Now, that is an absolute fact. And now it is time for those interesting but useless facts. We got a couple of minutes, and I got a couple of good ones for you. Did you know Switzerland eats the most chocolate, equating to 10 kilos per person per year. That's a lot of chocolate, man. That's like, holy cow. That's like a lot. Anyway, did you know that the basset horn is a kind of alto clarinet? It was named after its inventor, a man named Horn. Basset is from bassato, or little bass in Italian. Go figure. I don't even know if I understand that. It's kind of dumb. Did you know that the artist Vincent van Gogh sliced part of his ear off in madness? Most people know that. That's not... It's stupid, but we know. How about this? Jaguars are frightened by dogs. Can you believe that? That's unbelievable. And tigers' paw prints are called pug marks. Didn't know, didn't care. How about this one? Fuzzy Zeller defeated Tom Watson and Ed Snead in the very first sudden death playoff at the Masters in 1979. Fuzzy Zeller, yeah. And how about this one? Tidal forces between the Earth and the Moon are slowing the Earth down and pushing the Moon further away. So the next time we put a man on the Moon, he's going to have to travel a little bit farther. That's interesting. How about this? It takes 120 drops of water to fill a teaspoon. 120 drops of water to fill a teaspoon. I'm not going to test it. I'm just going to believe it, but it does sound like a lot, doesn't it? And let me leave you with this one. Did you know the average person swallows 295 times during a meal? Yeah. I wonder how many times they chew. That would be kind of interesting to know. Well, you know what? We've got to take our last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. And the story today is Black Bart's Threat. And I'll tell you all about it right after we come back.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time. We're coming down to the wire. I want you to know that it's 86 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California, on its way down to 61 degrees. You know what? And if you're listening to us in our syndicated global network and you're in London, England, it's 73 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Vienna, Austria, it's 59 degrees and it's clear. But right now, we want to do our special tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. Yes, sir. You know, this is a tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. You know, Paul Harvey is the biggest, best voice in America, revealing the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. Paul's one of America's favorite radio and TV commentators, heard on over 775 ABC radio stations and over 400 foreign stations, seen on 110 television stations and read in 300 newspapers. Recipient of numerous awards and honors, including 9 honorary degrees, and he's on the Gallup's poll list of America's most admired men. Fantastic man. Well, let's get to the story, and the story today is Black Bart's threat. His name was Charles E. Bowles. You know him. History remembers him as the California outlaw who terrorized Wells Fargo for more than 7 years. Black Bart. By the second year of his infamous career, Black Bart was among the most frequently repeated names in the California newspapers. Featuring writers glorified his daring, for Black Bart worked alone. But he was at least expected. Bart would appear in the middle of a stagecoach trail, brandishing a double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun, his face concealed beneath a hood. And though Bart was indeed a menacing figure, he was an amateur poet, too. He usually left incredulous victims with a few lines of original verse. From the Sierra Nevada foothills to the Sonoma coast of California was outlaw territory, but not even an outlaw could pass that way without thinking twice about Black Bart. During Bart's reign of terror, between 1875 and 1883, he is credited with 29 stagecoach robberies, and so bold were those 29 robberies that the lone hooded bandit became the most celebrated desperado of his time. His penchant for stagecoaches, contracted by Wells Fargo, led many to believe that Bart had a vendetta against the company. While he might have been true, the romanticized fiction of Black Bart as a gallant hero fighting single-handedly against the giant corporation became so popular that even some Wells Fargo officials started believing it. As it turns out, the facts surrounding Black Bart's criminal career are more incongruous than the fantasies. For example, Bart was finally caught not by a gunslinging sheriff or by an armed posse, but by a detective. During Bart's last robbery, he was wounded, got away. Afterward, while they were climbing the hills for a trace of him, a blood-stained handkerchief was discovered on his handkerchief in one corner, FX07, a laundry mark. That's right. The telltale laundry mark on a piece of fine linen led to the arrest and conviction of California's most feared outlaw. San Francisco super sleuth Harry Morse canvassed 100 laundries and laundry agencies in that city before making the right connection. When he did, when Detective Morse found the right establishment, who was there to pick up his laundry? Black Bart himself. Bart went into custody peaceably. He returned the loot from his last heist, pleaded guilty to the robbery, received a light sentence. After 4 years serving as druggist for the prison doctor at San Quentin, he was back on the street. As far as anyone knows, Charles E. Bowles, the original Black Bart, never committed another crime. If you're wondering how the hooded shotgun-wielding tyrant of the stagecoach trails got off with a virtual reprimand, you should know what the authorities discovered about Black Bart. When the hood came off, instead of a hard-riding equestrian, they found a man who was so frightened of horses he traveled to and from all of his robberies on foot. Instead of a bloodthirsty young desperado from Death Valley, they found an aging gentleman from Decatur, Illinois, who never once in his entire career as a bad man fired a shot, because he never once loaded his gun. And now you know the rest of the story. Isn't that fabulous? Unbelievable. From the memoirs of the late, great Paul Harvey. Well, tomorrow's tribute to Paul is going to be I Am Mr. Pierce. I'll just let your mind wander with that. I'm not going to tell you any more about it, because the fun part is when you get the rest of the story and you understand exactly what's going on. Now, on tomorrow's show, John Matthews, Joe Hakos, and I will be talking about conservative politics on our biweekly simulcast. And David Garrett will be here, and he'll be giving us another installment of Garrett on the Law. I continue our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey with the rest of the story, and I am going to ask you to please tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. They'll be glad you did. You'll be glad you did. And I promise you, I'll be glad you did.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.